on guard for thee. God, keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. We would now like to share our land acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge the treaty lands and territory of the Williams Treaty Nations and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. We also recognize that Dufferin County is the traditional territory of the Wendat and the Haudenosaunee, and is also the home to many Indigenous peoples today. By way of announcement, this meeting is being aired on public television and/or streamed live and may be taped for later public broadcast or webcast. Your name is part of the public record and will be included in the minutes of this meeting. Any member of the public connecting via telephone is reminded to press *6 to mute and unmute. Please remain muted until the chair requests comments or questions from the public. As mayor for the day, I have decided that rather than move forward with the immediate business of the day, it is important that we take time to recognize the heaviness of the world around us. The pressure, the rules, the stress, and the uncertainties. With that, I would like to use my limited time as mayor to officially proclaim May 12th, 2025 as Unleash Your Inner Child Day. Unleash Your Inner Child Kid Day, May 12th, 2025. Whereas life in Orangeville is often filled with responsibilities, schedules, and grown-up decisions, and whereas it is a proven fact, probably, that recess, laughter, and playtime are good for the soul regardless of age, and whereas hopscotch, sidewalk chalk, bubbles, skipping ropes, tree climbing, and swing sets remain timeless and joyful pursuits, and whereas the imagination, wonder, and unfiltered joy of childhood are qualities we could all use a little more of, especially on a Monday. And whereas dessert before dinner is sometimes exactly the kind of rule breaking we need to remember what fun feels like. Now, therefore, I, David Nairn, as the duly appointed mayor for a day on behalf of council for the town of Orangeville, do hereby proclaim Monday, May 12, 2025 as Unleash Your Inner Kid Day in the town of Orangeville, encouraging all residents to take a break from being serious, laugh loudly and often, bonus points for snorts, draw something silly in chalk on the sidewalk, jump in puddles or swing as high as they can, and yes, have dessert before dinner if the moment calls for it. Let it be known that on this day, joy shall be contagious, play shall be encouraged, and the heart of every Orangevillian shall beat a little lighter. Signed, David Nairn, Mayor for a Day. And with that, I will now turn the chair over to Her Worship, Mayor Lisa Post.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Post.
That's very fun. I will take my chain of office back.
The best, Mayor. Thank you. The best.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. He left with my notes. Can I have my notes? Thank you all for your patience with some fun today. It is David Nairn's last season with Theatre Orangeville. So we've been, and this show that's on right now is just wrapping up his final show as artistic director. So we've done a little bit of fun and allowed him to be mayor for a day. And I had the opportunity to be artistic director for a day on Saturday. So we've been having some fun. So now we'll go back in the agenda and do some of the regulatory business. We will start with the recommendation that the agenda and any addendums be approved. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Andrews and Deputy Mayor, all in favor? And that is carried. We did that stuff. All right. Was there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Deputy Mayor Taylor?
Sorry. Thank you, Your Worship. I don't have the Just let me see if you, I was so enamored with the previous mayor that I am completely thrown off.
13.1.7.
Thank you. 13.1.7, as a member of the Optimist Club, when that one comes up, I will have to decline to participate. So
Thank you. Councillor Prendergast.
Thank you, Mayor Post. My conflict is also with 13.1.7. I am a member with Scouts Canada, so I will declare a conflict for that one.
Thank you. And Councillor Sherwood?
Yes, Your Worship, my conflict is 13.1.7 as I'm an appointed board member of Theatre of Orangeville.
Thank you very much. Any other declarations of pecuniary interest? Okay, seeing none. We do have the adoptions of previous council meeting minutes from April 14th and April 28th. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Prendergast and Councillor Andrews, questions or comments on the minutes? All in favor? And that is carried. We are now in open forum. Any member of the public connecting via telephone is reminded to press *6 to mute and unmute, and that they have a maximum of 3 minutes to address council. Was there anybody on the line for question period or open forum? No? Was there anybody in the gallery who wished to ask a question or participate in open forum? Mr. Smith, go ahead. Name and address for the record, please.
Yep, Matthew Smith, 38 McCarthy Street. So my question is to deal with the, I guess, the procedure of removing the ice surface from Tony Rose Arena, or maybe even Alder as well, at the end of the hockey season. Because it seems the current way to do it is to scrape all the ice and anything contained within the ice surface and just leave it behind the arena for it to melt. And that seems fine, but unfortunately within the ice, I learned this year, there is paper to color the red and the blue lines. And I guess there's paint as well in the ice to make the ice surface white. And when all the ice dries and on a windy day, the leftover paper, when everything melts, gets blown around the neighborhood. And this is what I've collected myself in my yard and on the streets. And it made it all the way to Faulkner. So it's about 600 feet away from the rear of Tony Rose. So I just like to know if there's some mitigation method that can be investigated, or just a better practice that can be done to prevent, well, all the paper from polluting the neighborhood.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Ms. Savage?
Through you, Mayor Post. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Yes, we will take that back. I've made notes. I will talk with staff to see if we could see for a better method in which we dispose of that. That will be on the outside. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to say as well, I did submit a C-click fix for it, and town staff cleaned it up within 3 days. So that's really great to see. So that the response was very good for it. So I was really happy with that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Was there anybody else in the gallery who wished to participate in open forum? Okay, seeing none, we will move into presentations, petitions, and delegations. We have Kim Delahunt joining us from Headwaters Healthcare Centre to give the Headwaters annual update. Ms. Delahunt, welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mayor Post and Council, for having me this evening. And I do have some slides, which I understand you have seen in advance. So I just wanted to highlight a few, and I will go there. So certainly lots of accomplishments at the hospital over the last year, but I wanted to actually really focus on some upcoming exciting activities. And so I'm going to start with probably what's most exciting on everyone's radar is our new MRI. So certainly the groundbreaking event was very exciting, but I actually have some more up-to-date information and dates. So there have been a few delays. I'm probably not presenting it right, am I? Okay. I think they know. I'm on slide 7, in case in your packages. So we are planning for scans to occur this August. So a bit delayed than we originally thought. However, very exciting. We are aiming to do 8,000 plus scans a year. That's okay. Oh, good. Perfect.
You should be able.
Excellent. There you go. I was so excited. I was trying to show it twice, right? All right. So 8,000 scans a year is our target. We are able to scan anyone over the age of 8, and you can see on the slide there the types of scans we're going to be able to do. So lots more information coming soon in regards to how you refer, how you can get your physician to refer as we ramp up that. And if you happen to drive by the hospital, you'll see the construction that is underway each and every day just outside of our emergency department. The next slide I wanted to focus on were just some highlights of our clinical priority plan from the last fiscal year. So we made huge improvements in decreasing our wait times for surgical services at the hospital. We're actually one of the top performing hospitals now in the province. And within our emergency department, we have also had our expansion approved. So we're working through that process. We have about a 2-year timeline to have our ED expansion, DI expansion occur, which is very exciting. We also launched a new partnership with our TeleCheck program and the Polycultural Immigrant Services, which is very exciting. We continue to focus on patient experience. And lastly, very proud to be partnering with the town of Orangeville with our cardiac wellness program. So thank you for that partnership. I'm going to flip ahead. There's a number of successes here, which I'm not going to highlight. I wanted to flip to this slide, which is really a provincial slide. And this is what's being discussed at all of the acute care tables that I participate in. And it's really around the big shifts and the aging population across the province, which is also common to us in our catchment area. So in Dufferin County, the age 65 plus group is the fastest growing. And provincially, they're calling it like the next tsunami that's coming. So we're certainly planning for increased geriatric services. And with that aging population, of course, the incidence of chronic diseases is also rapidly going to increase. The complexity is going to increase. So, for us at Headwaters and for you at the town, we really have to prepare for this big shift for the number of aging seniors we're going to have, and we have to plan for it together. So where is Headwaters going? What are we planning? So we're always looking at improving efficiencies with the limited funds that we have. So that's always underway. We are looking at benchmarking. We're planning for these changes in demographics. So I think I mentioned last time I came, we do have a geriatrician now at Headwaters. We're looking at expanding her ability to provide clinics. We're also, continually looking at our building and our infrastructure and what we can do there. We're looking at enhancements in technology as well. And I'm going to talk to you about some of the big shifts and the big plans we have for Headwaters. So I've talked to you before about the emergency department. The expansion is approved, which is exciting because our hospital was built 27 years ago, as you know. Our volumes are now close to 37,000 a year. It was built for 23,000 annual visits. So the short-term ED expansion is going to add 3,500 square feet. Our diagnostic imaging department is going to grow by about 750 square feet, but we have just completed our master plan and program for the hospital. So that's looking at the entire building, all of the services that are currently provided, services that we know we're going to be adding or need to provide in the future. So the plan in 10 years is to expand the hospital by 239,000 square feet. So it's a big redevelopment. It's not disrupting the current building as it is. It's actually adding a new infrastructure in front. That's the 10-year vision. And then the 20-year plan, we've phased it, is to expand to another 333,000 square feet. So this master plan and program right now is working through its approvals. So we have to seek Ontario Health endorsement first, and then we'll be submitting to the Ministry of Health Capital Branch, and they'll work through us. So there's no approvals on this planning yet, but I'm certainly going to work hard on it. You can see the costs I included there. This is a big price tag item. Obviously, it's a big redevelopment. Through you, Mayor, I was talking to Councillor Andrews before. We've looked at how to minimize that number. Parking is one of the high cost elements that was proposed to us to have a multi-level parking garage structure. We opted to do surface parking only. Anything that's not surface level, the ministry will not fund. It would have been another like $45 million for the hospital, the foundation to have to raise funds for. So we worked hard with the architects to come up with the plan that allows the expansion and allows the ample parking, but at surface level.
Ms. Delahunt, I just got to interrupt you for 1 second. Council, can I just get a motion to have extend beyond the 5 minutes? Councillor Prendergast and Councillor Andrews, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Sorry.
My apologies. And I don't
No,
see the
that's
clock.
okay.
Thank
Just
you.
want to make sure I'm following the
Couple more-
procedures.
yes,
Otherwise, I'll
thank
get
you.
the evil eye from the clerk.
Couple
over
more
there.
slides. Thank you so much. So I did share the projected growth in the various departments. So I think these numbers speak for themselves. Our proposal is totally built on data and the growth that is expected to our communities. Actually, and I guess that's my last slide, but just to show you there, you can just see the expansion in ED visits, in beds. We probably, hopefully, that is appealing and welcome is that we are planning to add some mental health beds to the hospital in the future. We obviously have none now. That's a growing pressure in our hospital. Each and every day there are patients that come in crisis. And then obviously our ambulatory care visits, surgical cases, everything is just going to rapidly expand. So these are our plans to ensure that we have a sustainable future for the hospital. So I'll finish off with because I often get asked how can the town support the hospital? So certainly as the proposal works its way through the approval process, I'll be tapping the mayor to also help with our MPP with that. And I have no doubt that our foundation will likely come for some financial support. Typically, these big redevelopments do have support from towns or counties. And with that, thank you for the extra time, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Delahunt. Was there questions from members of council? Councillor Andrews, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you to Ms. Delahunt. It's always a pleasure to see you, and thank you for our conversation prior, and welcome to your colleague as part of her role here in our community. For those of us who've utilized the hospital, we've been fortunate to have such incredible expertise at the facility, and of course have been the benefactor of some of the expansions that you've had. You did reference the MRI, and I know that many of the practitioners that are anxiously waiting for that, it's highlighted in the report on when that's going to be open for, as we say, business. You did answer the question about the parking, which again has been one of those pressure points, as you know, even for members of our community. We on council do receive calls and curiosity on when some of the improvements will be made. One thing that came up in your report, and this is more from a role that I had with the council here as the chair of the EDI committee, is your DEI commitment. Can you give us just a quick summary on some of the things that you're implementing to support that?
I sure can. Through you, Mayor. Yes, so part of our strategic plan is our commitment to ensuring that we are embracing diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And we just actually had our corporate priorities for this year approved by the board. And so we do have a priority this year to implement at least one initiative, if not more. I think the last time I came, I spoke to us adopting the Ontario Health DEI framework, which is very inclusive. And so this year, we've just launched our IDEA committee, which stands for Inclusive Diversity Equity Action Group. And the other thing that we've just done as well is I actually brought this forward to our Ontario Health team, the Hills of Headwaters Collaborative, to seek a partnership opportunity, something that we could all partner on and to actually leverage, because some of our partners, including the town, are further ahead on their DEI strategies. So we're looking to actually pick one initiative together we can work on as an Ontario Health team, which will include the hospital, and we'll also do one other initiative, which I don't know what it is yet, but soon we're committed to doing something inside the hospital.
Thank you, Councillor Andrews. Additional questions? No, seeing none. Thank you very much for being here, Ms. Delahunt. We always appreciate the updates from you, and we're all looking forward to the MRI being open.
Thank you. Thank you for the extra time.
Thank you. Take care. Next up, we have Trish Elliott from NG Citrus Limited regarding development charges agreement. Ms. Elliott.
Through you, Madam Mayor, good evening. My name is Trish Elliott with NG Citrus Limited. We are the owners of the lands just west of Blind Line that are subject to item 13.1.9 on today's agenda. We've been working diligently with staff to advance our development, and today we're here to talk about a key milestone, which is the development charge credit agreement, which is subject to the report. So we're here to support that agreement as well as staff's recommendations and answer any questions about it at that time. Thank you very much, Ms. Elliott. Was there anybody who had questions right now for Ms. Elliott while she's up? No, we're good. You want to wait till it comes? Okay. Yep. Thank you very much. Thank you. Next up, we have Jennifer Payne, the Executive Director of Headwaters Communities in Action. I believe she's joining us virtually. Ms. Payne, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, and good evening, Mayor Post and members of council. It's my pleasure to be here with you this evening. I apologize for not being able to be in person, but I appreciate the opportunity to address you in this virtual format. I'll start by, I can share my screen here. Thank you. If everyone's able to see it okay, I'll proceed, and I'll just note it on the 5-minute timer as well. I'll do my best to get through these slides really quickly. And
you have 10, Ms. Payne, because of the type of presentation. You're good. Don't rush.
Thank you so much. Well, then I'll start with a quick throwback to Mayor Nairn's proclamation and recognize that by making a quick. Thank you. So I'm pleased to bring you today the Orangeville Community Grants Report of Recommendations from Headwaters Communities in Action. My name is Jennifer Payne. I'm Executive Director of HCIA, and I'm very pleased to bring you this report this evening. So I'll start with a little introduction and background, starting with a big thank you to the Town of Orangeville Council and the staff for making this process go smoothly, to the council for continuing to offer this program. It's very important to many of the nonprofits and community groups in Orangeville who are serving Orangeville residents. And it's a very important part of the overall funding mix for the region. So really appreciate you continuing to offer this. We know nothing's ever guaranteed. And so I just want to make sure that you're aware that it does wonderful work in the community. Big thank you to our assessment team. So we brought together some residents from the area who had the very difficult job of making recommendations this year. It was another tough year, as you'll see in some of the numbers, but I wanted to thank that team here. And a big thanks to all the applicants as well. There are so many amazing organizations doing important work, and I just wanted to give them some recognition. A little bit about us. Headwaters Communities in Action is a registered charity and a community backbone organization. We've been around since 2004, serving Dufferin County and Caledon. We support projects that serve a long-term vision of community well-being in the region. And we do that through research, education, engagement, and action on community priorities. Through collaboration, connection, and community conversations. That's kind of our brand. So our vision is people coming together to shape a thriving community. And you may recognize some of our work through the logos that are on this screen. A little bit about the 2025 timeline for the Community Grants Program. The application intake occurred between February 1st and March 31st. And that's where the town staff and myself, we discussed the parameters, any new criteria for the programs, the timelines, and any updates to the application form. The town launches the program and receives all the applications, and then they forward those to HCIA for review. Our assessment happened between April 8th and 26th, and we provided this report of recommendations on May 1st for your agenda package. We convened an assessment team. I'll talk a little bit about the inner workings of that team as well in the next slide. Then we're here today to provide the report to council and hope that you agree with the recommendations. And then the funds typically get dispersed in early June. Then there is an optional process to share the stories. I think the town staff has decided to take on that role, and we've provided our reporting outlines that we do for the county with town staff. So our team process goes a little bit like this. We recruit our assessment team of anywhere from 5 to 8 people. We have an orientation meeting. We kick off with the terms of reference. Each individual scorer reviews separately, and then we amalgamate the scores, bring them together for a group discussion, which includes calibration of those scores. So we see where there's discrepancy and discuss those in detail, come down to some collective recommendations, prepare the report, and submit it for your review and approval. How do we do this? So there are many aspects to this process that we consider. Some are under the applicant's control and others are not. So there are the application-specific criteria, which include the eligibility of the applicant, the demonstrated benefit to town residents, the budget, make sure it makes sense, that the plan makes sense, that there's alignment with the town's priorities and strategic directions. And then there are sort of context factors that include organizational credibility, the feasibility of partial funding. So if there's an opportunity for us to fund some items out of the budget to make the funds go a little bit further, the total amount of funds available in the full allocation, the mix of project types and strategic priorities that are addressed across the spectrum of the applications, and then the comparative quality between applications. We take a very holistic scoring approach and try to weigh to our best ability all of these factors. So here's the big number. We had quite a number of applications, 33 total applications totaling $267,259.16 on the total fund allocated of $58,000. So some very difficult decisions were made, and we came up with 25 total applications were recommended in full or in part, totaling that $58,000 was available. So the highlights of our process, there was a good mix of beneficial initiatives, subpopulations served, and different areas of focus. So we feel like there was a balance in the distribution of recommendations that we are putting forward. And there are many partial or no funding recommendations. And anytime we do this, we make sure that we include a list of reasons or rationale behind why there was a partial or no funding recommendation. And we always encourage applicants to seek feedback on their application and any further details about the rationale why we may have come to a certain conclusion. So this is your list of recommended grants. The ones with asterisks indicate that that organization currently does receive funds from multi-year grants or other town support, which may include in-kind. And that does not disqualify an applicant, just to be clear, but it's a consideration. So we had 33 total applications and 25 recommended in part at least. And showing that in another view as slices of the pie, we can see sort of the distribution here. Pretty evenly distributed with a few higher asks. So some suggestions that we had coming out of this process are to encourage follow-up with the applicants. There was a question from the group about how feedback gets to the applicants for just to help improve options for next time and continually improve the quality of the applications. We're more than happy to answer any questions. Our door is always open. We kind of take that approach that we're happy to discuss, and we welcome all the hard questions. So we're not afraid to be challenged on our recommendations. We want to make sure that it makes sense and that it's agreeable to everyone, even when we cannot fully fund all of the asks. So again, we encourage folks to continue to offer information sessions, FAQs, and that open door policy. Might consider adding a grant writing workshop, and this could be beneficial for both the town and the county and any other municipal community grants programs. And then continue to offer or consider offering an online form. So sometimes the PDFs are tricky or the paper applications are hard to read. So anywhere we can continue to improve the process while remaining accessible would be advisable. And that's the end of our presentation. So I again want to thank Orangeville Council for entrusting this important task to us. We really appreciate the trust you place in us. And it's a highlight for us to see all the amazing work that's being proposed in the area. And if we could, we'd love to fund everything to the final dollar, but recognizing that there are tough decisions that need to be made. And big thanks to Cheryl and Rebecca at the town for their partnership and direction to help us make this process smooth, to the assessment team again for their careful deliberation and a difficult task, and again to all the applicants for continuing to serve the Orangeville community. And congratulations to those who are ultimately successful.
Thank you very much, Ms. Payne. Was there questions from members of council? Yeah, go ahead. You can ask now if you'd like.
If I may, Your Worship, I always find it confusing when we have the presentation and then we do it afterwards, and it's when do you bring it forward? And I always thought we waited till we get to the other.
It's a consent agenda item, so if you want to have it pulled to discuss it that way, you can. Otherwise, you can answer your questions now and then leave it in the consent agenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll ask a question now then.
Okay, go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. First of all, Ms. Payne, thank you very much for your work that you do on this. It reminds me again, and I think I said it last year too when you came, this is exactly the right process that this council should be following. There's the group of us is too involved in the community, and I think there's a bias when we're doing it, and this just takes it right out of our hands, which I think is the right path for us for sure. I was just curious if you could speak to the specificity of the groups that got less or didn't get anything, and what your thoughts were on that. And just one last diatribe before we go. I was thinking, does that mean that we're not offering enough? And I bet you that's not the case. My sense is the grants are just in such high demand now because charities are under so much pressure that us increasing isn't the right decision. It's more about the decisions that you're making and the difficulties that you'd have with them. But I did read through the items that you diminished in size and gave 0 to, and I just think it's worthwhile talking about them a little bit. Is that possible?
Ms. Payne?
Sure, through you, Mayor Post, and thank you, Deputy Mayor Taylor, for the question. You know, it does come down to the comparative quality of the applications. And so while it may seem like, you know, this is a known entity, a known organization, we know they do great work, but it may just be that the application as submitted did not pass muster. There were several this time where the applicant was located outside of Orangeville, and we had direction to give preference to those that were located in Orangeville. There's always a judgment call on that as well, whether there is an alternative that is based in Orangeville or if this is a unique service that serves Orangeville residents. So that's always a consideration. Sometimes in the application, the case is just not strongly made for the benefit to Orangeville residents. So whether it is located in and serving, or typically it's more a case of the organization is located out of or headquartered outside of Orangeville, serves Orangeville residents, but didn't quite convince the group that the funds that coming from Orangeville would be dedicated to Orangeville recipients. So those are some of the, I don't know if that helps answer the question, but those are some of the nuanced ways that we assess whether an organization is recommended or not. The partial, that goes to the budget. So oftentimes we'll look at details of the budget and say, well, maybe we can't cover all of the advertising expenses, but the event costs for food and drinks would be covered, or things like that. So we try to pick an amount that speaks specifically to elements of the budget, if that's helpful.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
Councillor Andrews?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship, and through you to Ms. Payne, thank you for the reports and all that HCIA does. You did answer one of the questions as for groups that technically would be applying from outside of the community, but also defining the, I guess, the benefit to our community more than anything else. More of a comment now as opposed to a question, but I appreciate the comment about online forum and also the group workshop initiative that would help, especially whenever you have groups that don't necessarily are successful in receiving the funds in this very competitive grant world. Getting that workshop together, I think, would be beneficial. And just, I guess, maybe it is a question regarding any suggestions that that your organization may be able to provide to those groups that may not have been able to be successful this year. You did reference that in your presentation. Maybe just to summarize that again, if you don't mind.
Ms. Payne?
Certainly, through you, Mayor Post, and thank you, Councillor Andrews. Yes, we always encourage as much information as can be shared prior to the next grant round, just to allow potential applicants to check in, get a sense of what was, what some of the previous decisions were based on, what we see in trends over the applications that we do review, and tips and tricks for making your application better. So we did do the workshop last year for the 2024 round. And while we didn't have the experience from 2023 to compare, I believe that staff did find that the applications were of somewhat better quality. And we certainly did also see the quantity of applications increase this year. And so to the previous question as well, there's always more money needed, certainly. And so one thing that we saw, and I'll maybe just make a reference to the deferring process, which we did also help administer, they actually saw a reduction in the applications. And so we didn't end up spending the full allocation that they had increased significantly from last year. So I would say there is a sweet spot probably to be found between the 58,000 that we're working with this year and the 267,000 that was requested. So we do tend to see some of the same applicants year after year. And so perhaps more consideration for that multi-year option would be encouraged. But to your point about the workshops, yes, I think in the past we've done workshops specific to the criteria and eligibility of the Orangeville program itself. But I think it would benefit on a broader range, just some grant writing tips, whether that's for the municipal programs or beyond. It's a great skill to just grow in capacity within our community to have more people able to write quality grants.
Thank you, Ms. Payne. Was there any other questions at this time from council? No? Okay. If you want to hang on, Ms. Payne, it may get pulled in the consent agenda, so there may be questions that follow, but thank you so much for your presentation. With that, we will move into the consent agenda, but before I do, I just want to do a quick recognition of a group that has joined us in the gallery today. We have a group of Pathfinders and Rangers who have joined us today to observe a little bit of our council meeting and also to learn a little bit about municipal government and what council does. So thank you guys for joining. I know you're not going to stay for the whole meeting, so I just wanted to recognize your time here today and thank you for coming out, and it's great to see the youth engaged in the process, so thank you. We will now move into the consent agenda. The following items have been compiled under the consent agenda to facilitate a single vote for council consideration. Council may remove any item from the consent agenda for individual consideration. Before we start removing items, I do just want to check with council. We will be voting on the three declarations of pecuniary interest separately. But if there are no other questions about community grants, we can leave the rest of the report in there. So I just wanted to know if anybody wanted to pull it for any other reason other than the three pecuniary interests. So we can keep that one in there? Okay, perfect. Any other items that anybody would like to pull? Councillor McIntosh and then Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. 13.1.10, the traffic bylaw.
Thank you, Councillor McIntosh. Deputy Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. 13.1.3, strong mayor powers. 13.1.8, new roads policies. 13.1.9, Edgewood Valley. And I also had 10 on my list, so thank you, Councillor McIntosh.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Andrews?
Thank you, Your Worship. I also had 13.1.10 on mine, and from the committees and or task forces polling 13.3.12.
You. Any others? Everybody else is good? Okay, thank you. The motion then will be that all consent agenda items for the current council meeting listed under 13.1 staff reports, 13.2 correspondence, and 13.3 committee board minutes be received or approved as presented with the exception of the items removed for individual consideration, which include 13.1.3, 13.1.8, 13.1.9, 13.1.10, and 13.3.12. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Deputy Mayor and Councillor Andrews, all in favor? And that is carried. Okay, so we will move into strong mayor power legislation. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I just wanted to call this out and just offer some thoughts, if I could. Ever so quickly, I think this is absolute horrible legislation. I try and stay in my lane when we do these things. I talk about municipal things and mind my business when it comes to federal and provincial policies, but this is absolutely disgusting. It really says that none of us, including staff in the room, are worth their salt, and we're not required, essentially, and one individual who's quite capable could run the town and make decisions on our behalf. And it's with a heavy heart that you would even see something like this in a country like ours. So I would just like to call out, I do spend a lot of time with Mayor Post. We debate issues. We talk about numerous things. Not once did we talk about this issue, not once. I don't know why we didn't, to be honest with you. It's probably because you beat me to it, and you've gone out and shared in an incredible amount of leadership on your part to be able to share with people what you're not going to do and what you're not going to put up with as a leader of our town and a leader within our province, because I know there's other municipalities that are looking at what you've done here. And I think, if people are reporting or talking online, wondering what this is all about, this is a leader in our town who's done something that they didn't have to do. They did it because they thought it was the right thing. And I tend to agree with her that it's the right thing. And I just wanted to call out how much I appreciate you and acknowledge your leadership publicly here tonight. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Deputy Mayor. That's awfully kind. Was there additional questions on this item from anybody while it's pulled? No, we're good. The recommendation is that report CPS 2025-35 strong mayor powers legislation be received for information. And please note that there is a notice of motion at the end of the meeting that will also deal with strong mayor powers. So at this point, I'll call for a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Sherwood and Councillor Stevens, all in favor? And that is carried. We will now move into 13.1.7, the ones with pecuniary interest. So I will vote on those three items separately. If I could have Councillor Prendergast leave the room first, please. You can go into my office, yeah. The recommendation is that council approve distribution of the 2025 community grant budgeted funds as recommended by HCIA from a one-time community grants budget to the 4th Orangeville Scouts in the amount of $1,000. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Andrews and Deputy Mayor, all in favor? And that is carried. If we can get Councillor Prendergast back in here, and we will have Deputy Mayor leave at this time. The next one is that council approve distribution of 2025 community grant budgeted funds as recommended by Headwaters Communities in Action from the one-time community grants budget to the Optimus Club of Orangeville in the amount of $5,000. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Stevens and Councillor McIntosh, all in favor? And that is carried. If we can get Deputy Mayor back in, and we will have Councillor Sherwood leave. I just like to play a little musical chairs today. The recommendation is that council approve distribution of 2025 community grant budgeted funds as recommended by HCIA from the one-time community grants budget to Theatre Orangeville in the amount of $2,500. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Andrews and Councillor Prendergast, all in favor? That is carried. If we can get Councillor Sherwood back in. And Ms. Payne, that calls for the end of you being here. You are welcome to leave the meeting now. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you very much again. And I just wanted to say I didn't realize that my camera wasn't on earlier. My comment on Mayor Nairn's proclamation was this.
Oh, nice. Very good. Thank you, Ms. Payne. He's still here and he's laughing, so that's good. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. Next, we will move into 13.1.8, which is the new roads related policies and update of existing policies. Deputy Mayor, that one's for you as well.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Thank you for this report from Public Works. To me, this was overdue, it was long in process. I guess there's just two things that I wanted to question. One is, first of all, the sidewalks and the practice that we have of painting the sidewalk orange. The explanation is that we have to make choices and decisions, and sometimes those sidewalks don't get done. So I agree with that. Do we ever take into account the amount of times in a row that we would paint it orange and leave it? So for example, you and I have talked about some of the streets, and, we're still trying to figure that out, but Cedar Drive would be one that comes to mind. And I know for a fact that that's been painted over years upon years. It would be great in the decision-making process if I get there's a severity index that we would use, but there must also be a time index. Like it's already bad, it's not getting worse, but it's still really bad, but we don't fix it. We just keep painting it, which is infuriating to the folks. And then I just have one other question as well.
Mr. Koslek, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, through your worship. And I guess that's one of the things we do, paint it to try and flag it that there is a deficiency in the area. What we'd like to do is work towards getting all the deficiencies fixed in town. Currently, our program, it's in the order of $400,000 a year. And I think there's roughly a little over $1.5 million worth of repairs that we'd need to do. So I think historically, the town didn't put as much towards the sidewalks. The last 2 or 3 years, we've really increased the budget and trying to catch up. One of the things, I'll mention a report that's going to be coming forward to the next meeting. We had one of our construction tenders come back much lower than we expected. We had, I think there was 22 contractors bid on it. Prices came in very aggressive. Our recommendation is to use some of that surplus and add it to our sidewalk repair budget. So there'll be a report coming to the next council meeting to add another $400,000 to that from our project that came in under budget. So we'd like to try and work towards doing it. I know as a resident, you get concerned about some of the areas that are painted, so we're trying to do as many as we can, but I think we're increasing our program and trying to get caught up in the next few years, and that way we'll do the inspections, probably in about 3 years, we'll do the inspections in the spring and be able to do those repairs and get caught up. But I think that'll make a big difference if we can add those additional funds to the program.
Thank you, Mr. Koslek. Deputy Mayor, follow-up?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Just to IT, my signal keeps dropping here, so I think I'm kicked out of this meeting again. I don't know if there's anything that needs to be done, but the secondary question is, now I'm back. The roads policy, and I'm just doing it for educational purposes so everybody else understands what's going on. We've got this new roads policy, and it's going to dovetail with what economic development is working on, which is an agreement for downtown and the BIA and how all of those places will go. And just in a public forum, can you share when we think we might have that? And I apologize, I know the two of you kind of overlap on this, but it was almost like your group was the first mover, Tim, and then Heather, it's over to you, but it's a long process. It's long overdue, and I'd love to just finalize it and get it out and be done.
Mr. Koslek first, and then Ms. Savage.
Maybe I'll dovetail first, and then I'll pass it over to Ms. Savage. Part of the agreement that the BIA and the town are doing is sort of the who does what as part of it. So in the agreement, it'll reference these policies that we have for the roads. So it doesn't have it defined in there. It'll reference these policies. So when it talks about the snow removal, it'll say in accordance with town policy this. That way, if we ever do change our policies, how we do maintenance on the roads or the snow removal, it doesn't have to go back and amend the agreement with the BIA. And I guess as for timing for the BIA agreement, I'll pass it over to Ms. Savage.
Ms. Savage.
Through you, Mayor Post, Deputy Mayor Taylor, we are presenting, so Katrina, the Manager of Economic Development and Culture, she'll be presenting the MOU with the BIA to SLT. Within, I think she's on the agenda within the next couple of weeks, and then you will see us come to council, I'd say within the next 2 months for approval.
Thank you. Any additional questions on this item? Very good. Okay, the motion then is that the report INS 2025-008, new roads related policies and update of existing policies be received, and that the roads and parking lot snow clearing policy approved by council on November 3rd, 2008 be repealed, and that the municipal roadway and parking lot snow clearing policy attached to report INS 2025-008 be approved, and that the sidewalk snow clearing policy approved by council on October 17th, 2016 be repealed, and that the sidewalk snow clearing policy attached to the report INS 2025-008 2025-008 be approved, and that the sidewalk maintenance policy attached to report INS 2025-008 be approved. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Prendergast and Deputy Mayor, all in favor? And that is carried. We will move into 13.1.9. Deputy Mayor, that one's yours as well.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Ms. Elliott, if I may, first of all, my apologies. I saw you earlier and I just totally snubbed you. I didn't say hello, and welcome back to council. It's nice to see you again. I'm sorry I did that. I don't know what I was doing, but I meant to be friendlier than I was. Can't have you come to council and then not ask the questions. Like, so first off, again, I think it's so important when we have someone with your company investing as much money as you are in our community to say thank you. So we're glad that you're here. We're glad that you're moving things forward, and excited about what that area can look like longer term. So thank you for that. And I guess the $1 million question again, and you know where we have to go, but the pressure is immense. The frustration is super high. You know, I read the report and I'm reticent to even say when we think that will be done, but there is a date now. Do you want to share that? Are you comfortable with that date? How do you feel about things? And I'm sure lots of people are going to be listening to what you're saying.
Miss Elliott, I'll turn over to you.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Thank you. Yeah, and there are some details within the report. So you know, my answer to the question of when is construction going to begin, Hanson being the big, the big concern. Pending sales, our anticipated start is the summer of this year. With that, we'd be looking to be paved for the end of the year. There's a lot of caveats on that, but that's sort of the short and quick of it.
Deputy Mayor, follow up.
If I may, I am an amateur economist. How is your group feeling about the potential for sales of real estate at this strange time that we all find ourselves in? What's your thoughts on that? And to me, if the percentage was low to medium, what's the thoughts then on Hanson coming? Because basically you need funding to be able to move your project forward, and that's why the sales portion is of interest, right?
Ms. Elliott.
Through you, Madam Mayor. I'm not going to start throwing out numbers. You know, we do have a lot of experience across the GTA and other communities. The market is quite a challenge. There's not a lot of houses that are moving. On the bright side of this, and we have to be optimistic and look forward to it, is we've done a lot of work leading up to this. Our sales center is opening on the 24th. We have a grand opening officially. We have a few launch events happening in the next week, which we're really excited for. And we've been quite aggressive in some of our advertising campaigns and received really positive feedback so far. So we're feeling quite optimistic. It's obviously not something within our control, and we like to focus on the things we can control, which is why we've been working with staff and getting everything together so that when we can go, we can go. And this agreement that is on the table today is one of the many accomplishments we've had so far, and able to move this forward.
Deputy Mayor?
Can I put words in your mouth and then you maybe just say if it's right or it's not? This is an incredibly difficult thing that you're trying to do. People are frustrated and they're expecting that you're going to give a hard date as to when this is going to get done. And what I understand in the numerous discussions that we've had outside of this room, in this room, it's not possible to commit based on the circumstances that we're in. You're giving a range to the best of your knowledge, and we assume that you're trustworthy and have integrity and all those things to be true, and I believe them to be true. But the public is not going to know a firm date. And the frustration that you have, although understandable, not you yourself, but the public, it's not going to be resolved today, and it may or may not be resolved in the fall or early in the new year. Would that be fair?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Thanks for your candor in this. We appreciate that, and certainly we want to proceed. We want to build this community. We want to build this road. We're trying everything we can to make that happen. Staff can attest to the work we've been doing behind the scenes to kind of make everything work. But you're correct. I'm not going to give a date today. I don't have a date. I don't know the date. The moment we know what that date is, trust me, you guys will know. We will be sharing that as soon as we can. And we're hoping that we can share that date sooner rather than later. Absolutely. We appreciate that, Ms. Elliott. I'm going to turn over to Councillor Sherwood, and then if you've got something else, I'll go back to you. Councillor Sherwood?
Thank you, Your Worship. To you, Ms. Elliott, I just want to thank you very much for this positive news. Just want to give a quick shout out that your sales office looks amazing and hopefully will be very successful when you launch. Despite not having illuminated lights, I think it's very visual. So yeah. I have a question for Mr. Ward. He wrote this report and I read it quite surprisingly that the fact that the pricing estimates are 2 years old. That has me a little worried about what are the next steps, Mr. Ward? When are you going to be coming back to council with updated pricing? How is that going to affect us budget or monetarily?
Mr. Ward?
Yeah, through you, Mayor Post to Councillor Sherwood, we've been in discussion with the developer around those costs. They're a little dated, but our developer team and our staff have reviewed them carefully and both feel that they're still relevant and accurate. An interesting point about this agreement is actually the mechanism for credits in exchange for the work performed. It's based on the actual costs incurred. It's not based on estimates. And again, we look at those estimates, are they realistic? And we still feel that they're relevant despite their age.
Councillor Sherwood, good? Go ahead.
So Your Worship, just to follow up. So it's a term of credit which will be given by them not having to pay the DCs. It's not budget money that you're going to come back and ask us for to cover off another $1 million because the cost of that road has gone up. I just didn't know if our roads department would have to be, or our capital roads or whatever would be affected by an increase in cost. No?
Mr. Ward?
Through you, Mayor Post, I wouldn't expect that at this time. How the agreement works is that the total cost of oversizing. So when the developer comes forward after registration and applies for building permits, they have to pay development charges. So the rates related to roads and water in particular, those charges owing would be credited. In other words, they wouldn't have to pay those. And for each unit, as that adds up, once they reach the point where they break even with the overall cost to build the road, then that's it. The credits are exhausted. And if there's any further units to be built and owing development charges, they'd have to pay those rates in full.
Good, Councillor Sherwood. Okay, Councillor Prendergast, then Councillor Stevens.
Thank you, Mayor Post, through you. Given that completing Hanson Boulevard is a top priority for this council and the town, I'm wondering what the pending sales threshold is to start the project. So that's part one of the question. Then part two for the town, what mechanisms would the town have in place to oversee that this pending sales threshold has been met and then the countdown commences? I think we need to know that the actual number of houses that need to be sold in order for Hanson to start being built, and that we are also accountable to the taxpayer in that regard.
Ms. Elliott?
To you, Madam Mayor. That's not an answer that I'm able to provide. Like I said, certainly we don't have this magic number yet. We're really positive and looking forward to sales starting and hoping that if we have to cross that bridge, pun intended, we'll go there. But I'm really hoping we don't have to.
Is it more about a certain amount versus number of units sold?
It's quite complex. It's not quite that simple. Yeah.
Councillor Stevens.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I'm not sure who can answer this. My question is, was the developer not aware of the size of the road that we wanted there when they purchased the land? Like, nothing's changed from our point of view from the town, correct?
Mr. Koslak, you want that one?
Sure. No, I don't think there's been any change. It's always been proposed as a 4-lane arterial road through that area. I don't think there's been any change through it. And
yeah, Mr. Koslak, go ahead.
If I may, Councillor Sherwood was asking about the financial about coming back for the capital cost. There will be, as noted in the report, there's a cost for a small town-owned segment of the road, which is from the bridge going westerly. So there's a section, I think it's about 150 meters. That is 100% town cost because it's outside the development. So it's noted in the report, it's estimated at $648,000 for that. Once we have the actual numbers, we will be bringing a report to council asking for those funds because it's a town cost for that. So that will be an additional request that we will have as part of the project.
Thank you, Mr. Koslek. Councillor Sherwood, is that good? Yeah. Any other questions on the, oh, Deputy Mayor, sorry, yeah, go back to you.
If I may, I just wanted to have a little discussion if we could. So candidly, this council is being trashed for this development, right? So the road, and it's not, you came in late, so it's not to do with you, it's the road itself. The feedback would be is we don't care, we haven't done anything, we haven't pushed, we haven't had meetings. I was just curious what you would say to that and how you felt that town staff treated you and how you think that your interactions with council were.
Ms. Elliott. Through you, Madam Mayor, I think the best analogy for that is really an iceberg. I think the amount that, you know, the public might see at a council meeting or at these sort of touch points that we have is literally the tip of the iceberg. There's so much work that goes on behind the scenes, so much time that we have to spend with staff to get things figured out or work things through. I can't tell you what version number we're on in terms of our agreements, in terms of the cost estimates that were pulled together, any of these various things that happen. I'm sure staff can attest to just how overwhelming I would be contacting them constantly about things. So truly, there is a lot of work that is happening. It's just difficult when it's not visible publicly, but I can assure you there has been a lot of work that has happened to date. There's still a bit more to continue on, but we have worked pretty well together to at least get to where we are today, which is great. Deputy Mayor?
Just really quickly, I could not write the report, but I felt like I could have wrote the report. Like, I know this thing like the back of my hand now. We've been through many of these things. I just want to publicly again to thank you. Like, I think the discussions we had were uncomfortable at times, but they were certainly professional. And it was a group of willing participants who had great integrity and wanted to get a job done. So just wanted to publicly say that to you. And we're still tagging along with you. We want this thing done just as much as anybody. And I know you do too. So thank you for being here and for investing in our community. We'll get this done.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Was there any other questions from council? Councillor Prendergast.
Thank you. I was just wondering if we could follow up offline, and I would love to understand the complexities that might be too onerous perhaps to discuss right now, just about what the threshold would be to commence the project and gain a better understanding surrounding those things. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Prendergast. Anything else from council? That was a great discussion. Thank you, Ms. Elliott, for being here and for being so honest in your answers and for being a really great community partner. It's very clear that you want to do what's best for the community as well, and we appreciate working with development groups like yours who really want to benefit our community. So thank you for that. The recommendation is that report INS 2025-10 Edgewood Valley Phase 2B Development Charges Credit Agreement for constructing Hanson Boulevard be received, and that council pass a bylaw authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute a development charges credit agreement with NG Citrus Limited in substantially the same form as that included in attachment 1 to this report. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Andrews and Councillor Sherwood, all in favor? And that is carried. We will move into 13.1.10 and we will start with Councillor McIntosh.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't like this report, so I'm not going to thank you for it. I understand why it's in there. I've read it many times. I certainly understand. A couple of questions. Do we need to do the whole road, or can we just do one section? And if we have to do the whole road, can we not change the times? Like when you're in school zone, sometimes it says, you know, it's 40 kilometers an hour in a school zone. Could we not do that here? Or could we just do that area as 60? Because, you know, as the report says, originally it started at 80. It's supposed to be a bypass, and here we are slowing it down. Next council would be down to 40 kilometers maybe, I don't know. So I was just wondering, thank you.
Mr. Koslek?
Yep, through your worship. Our recommendation is to make it 60 all the way through. The county's lowered County Road 109 to 60 kilometers an hour, and this is the continuation of that. I think when it was originally proposed, it was a bypass pretty well outside of town. Now it's developed on both sides. You have school kids crossing, you have people going to the parks. It's a busy road in a busy area. Our recommendation is to reduce the speed from 70 to 60. Even if people drive 10 over, they're still doing 70 on the road. So it still allows a higher speed than a local road. And I don't think it'll affect the use as a arterial road. We are looking at, through our transportation master plan, the option of putting some signs in to maybe reduce the speed when this crossing guards are present. Maybe reduce it to 50, or at least put signs up saying caution crossing guards. That transportation master plan is still going on. It's probably something we'll bring a report back more in the fall. But our recommendation is do the entire length. Just, we've had concerns because there's crossings down at Alder, there's crossings at Spencer, Montgomery, and there are, you know, concerns about people jaywalking, and there's concerns about people crossing all the time. So our recommendation is to do the entire urbanized area. When it goes into Caledon, the speed in that area could be higher. You don't have any residential people. You don't have any driveways pulling out in those areas, and that may maintain a higher speed.
Any follow-ups, Councillor McIntosh? You're good. Councillor Prendergast, and then Councillor Andrews.
Thank you, Mayor Post, through you. My question was similar. I was wondering if that was ever discussed, reducing the speed during school entry and exit times between Montgomery and Spencer. And as you had alluded to, the changing nature of this road, it has become a road that children use to get to school daily. And I have seen some of those close calls myself. So I'm just curious if that would be something that's explored, maybe lower to even 40 during school times.
Yeah.
Mr. Kozlak?
Through your worship, we're looking at that through our transportation master plan, where our community safety zones, and that's one of the areas we want to look at. I don't think we'd go down to 40 kilometers an hour. Probably a recommendation would be 50 at the lowest. And probably it'd be mainly at Montgomery. We have crossing guards in those areas, and you have primary school kids crossing. So probably that area we'd have the signs would be 50 when flashing. But we want to make sure we look at it thoroughly and as part of the consultation of the transportation master plan, just to get public feedback on that too before we bring it back to council.
Any follow-up, Councillor Prendergast? Okay, Councillor Andrews?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm so pleased that this was pulled because for those of us who are huge proponents for safety in our community, we've had several examples that have come to this council which we have really fought for and have supported. Case in point, near Rolling Hills, that's one example. I've spoken here candidly about some of the jaywalking that's occurred on, of course, the bypass there. It is one of those, concerns that I have when I see it, be that if I happen to be shopping at one of the local stores and you see high school kids jumping literally across and avoiding some of the accelerated traffic. Having said that, I think that I'm certainly in support of this, but it is really I think the clarification that needs to be provided to the community. And again, as we know, for those of us who've been in this community a long time, this was a bypass. The bypass was designed to allow traffic to move from one part of the community around Broadway, which of course was becoming really the problem area. Still is a problem area, as we know, for those of us that travel downtown. The point I want to make is, I think, not only to you, Mr. Kozlak, but also to Ms. Savage, because it falls under your portfolio, the crossing guards. It falls under, that's right, I forgot, thank you. You washed your hand, no, you didn't wash your hands for that. That's right, thank you for the reminder. On that note, with the crossing guards also in your file, Mr. Kozlak, we have an absence of crossing guards at Spencer. We have a absence of crossing guards at Alder. We know the amount of students that are going back and forth to, of course, the secondary school, West Side, and I know the primary focus is the crossing guards at Montgomery. I'm just wondering, to Councillor McIntosh's point and also to Councillor Pendergast's point about, a time frame, defining this as a community safety zone. Are we going to find people taking other routes? Beeline as an example, Town Line, to kind of navigate around this, Centennial. All of a sudden, you're going to see people taking alternative routes, including truck traffic, to avoid what I consider to be a slowdown. And I appreciate the importance of this from a safety mitigation perspective. But, people are creatures of habit. I have been at that corner of literally Broadway going to Montgomery, and I see people who are literally racing from 109, for those of us who've seen this, 109 now going south, and it is like the Indy 500 at times. And people will absolutely ignore what you see unless you have something that is flashing. And I know that your department worked, and we also worked with the MTO on trying to get some of these flashing lights near the hospital, near Island Lake Public School, and it has helped to slow some people down. So as part of this, I saw in your report some signs that is, of course, going to be supported by budget. So I guess number one, the report is asking us to consider this to reduction to 60. Okay, I have no problem with that, but I'm just, again, looking at the the roundabout, as I call it, where people are going to find alternative routes because of the speed reduction. Number two, the signage. I think it's imperative that we have that up as soon as possible. And I think the other piece is consideration from a budgetary point of view. Is it necessary? What is the threshold to define if, in fact, crossing guards should be at a specific location? I know elementary schools would be the ideal location, but look at what happens. I've traveled right by Alder a number of times, and I see the high school kids. And again, I'm not pegging this on them, but they're running across. They don't want to wait. And I just don't want to have something happen at those two intersections.
Mr. Koslak?
Through your worship, and that's one of the things we're just trying to have the continuity. I think the 60-kilometer-an-hour speed, you won't have people taking alternative routes very much. Somebody goes over to Sea Line, I think it's only 50. So they're not going to detour to make out of their way to do that. You could go over to B Line. It's limited because it's not a direct route. So I think people will continue on this. 60 is a reasonable speed in an urban area. So I don't think it would be an issue. I don't think we're going to have traffic. We've done a lot of coordination with the county, just in the discussions to make sure they support it and it's not going to have any ill effects on any of their roads. So I think it'll work out quite well. We're looking at our existing budget to be able to put signage up. And that's one of the things we want to look at as part of the crossing at Montgomery. If we're looking at doing a speed reduction in the signs, we'll put money in the budget for that. Typically, we put crossing guards where there's public school kids crossing, not so much secondary school. I guess the thought is secondary school kids are basically adults. They should be able to follow traffic signals. We don't have them at every intersection. So that's why we have them on Montgomery, but not on the others. So we can take a look at it in a bit more detail. I'm new to the portfolio on crossing guards, so we can work through that too.
If I may add just 2 points here. In Montgomery's case, there are 2 entrance points, as I would call them. And again, for those that are in that neighborhood, Montgomery's one, but also Alder's another. So you do have, those that may not be going to Spencer Elementary are in fact going to Montgomery. So there are some elementary school students that are crossing at that intersection. So that would be one. And I think the other piece that I think we need to look at is, in fact, LAS. So LAS has been spoken as part of a report, which is speed mitigation. Is that an area that might be implemented, as we kind of progress through this speed enforcement process?
Mr. Koslak?
Yep, through your worship, it may be one of the areas. I think what we want to try and do when we lower the speeds, we'll do some speed monitoring. We'll put out some counters, we'll check the volume of traffic, the speed of traffic. And if that is an issue, it's something we would look at in the future. I think right now we're focusing on the areas right in front of the schools, like on Spencer and Alder, just to try and enforce those areas, make sure people slow down. But I think we'll do a lot of monitoring on this when we do reduce the speed, and we'll do some public education as part of it too.
I think that's going to be imperative. And again, I have in my notes here to, of course, look at Deputy Mayor Taylor, who's also the chair of the police board, just to make sure that, once this is all, implemented, that we keep our eyes open for not only some violation, but maybe with our connection to OPP, see a way that we can enforce a reminder, which I really, really think is imperative. And I think we all agree. We're here to make sure that our residents are going to maintain their safety as they cross whatever the intersection may be.
Councillor Stevens and then Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Sorry. I support this policy. I think it's a great, and I would just like to say why, and that is the safety. I live in that neighborhood, and I'm out walking my dogs in the morning, and I see a lot of traffic that are going way too fast. And I agree, Councillor Andrews, there are elementary school kids that cross at Alder because I see them every morning. So, and there is no crossing guard there. So I think 60 is plenty fast enough. So I will support this. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Stevens. Deputy Mayor?
Really quick, thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Councillor Andrews, for your comments. I was going to make the point, first of all, I support this as well. We've had many discussions about this intersection in particular. It's Montgomery is what I'm referring to, and I'm not trying to diminish the other ones because they have been mentioned as well. But by Montgomery, you've got so much speed going as you go north that it really is a problem. The OPP are aware, Councillor Andrews. They have committees coming out as they can support, and this is the issue, right? We've got limited resources, and know, the reality is everybody wants them everywhere, but that intersection in particular, I truly believe it's too fast, which brings me to my point. It's warm weather and we're ready to go. I haven't seen Black Cat for a bit. We talked about it recently, but you say the counters, is that what you meant with, because I'd love to see the Black Cats there, and then we should start getting them out in some of our other things. And just so everybody knows, Black Cat is a device that tracks the time and the speeds that everybody's going. We share that with the OPP. The OPP then know on Tuesdays between 10 and 10:30 they're speeding, so we're going to go there between and use their resources that way. So I'd love to see us do that if that's at all possible, Mr. Koslak.
Mr. Koslak?
Yep, through your worship. We've done speed counts in quite a few areas, so we do have them out there. I guess could let Mr. Ondusco's talk, but we can bring that back another time. But we've done traffic counts in other areas just to confirm when the issues are, and we'll be looking at it in more detail. And I think when we do the speed reduction, we'll do detailed evaluation on the speeds. Yep.
Councillor McIntosh?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just for the record, I will also be supporting this. And also, just for the record, Beeline is also 60 kilometers.
Thank you. Any additional questions? I just wanted to make the comment that I will as well be supporting this. For those in the community who are concerned that this is supposed to be a truck bypass, it still will be utilized as such. As Mr. Koslak said, 60 is a reasonable speed in that area. But I also, just from a county perspective, wanted to talk about some of the work that's going to be upcoming in that area in the next couple of years. And that is that between Town Line and Highway 10, they are looking at potentially expanding that road to be 4 lanes. So that there definitely will be some changes to that roadway, and ensuring that we're ahead of that by reducing the speed limit, I think, is a great time for that. You will see that traffic will move much better on that road once it is a 4-lane road. It does get fairly congested, and I would argue that there's not a lot of time that people could drive faster than 60 anyways, when especially at peak times, because it is so busy. So I'll definitely be supporting this as well. Deputy Mayor?
Just ever so quickly, your 4-road piece is absolutely true, which means it's going to be noisier and busier there than it is now, which brings me to the thought that the corner there where Benjamin meets up with, I think it's 109, anyway, at the north end, the town is doing, sorry, Tim, silence fence, I've lost the term, but they're coming, they're
Noise fencing?
Noise fencing, thank you. So that will be up there, and those residents will be protected as time goes on.
Yeah, I believe most of the area does have noise fence already that was installed as part of the subdivision when it was built.
And the 4 lanes is on the other side. It'll be from Town Line to Highway 10, not the Highway 9 portion. Any additional questions or thoughts? We're all good. The recommendation is that report INS 2025-18 traffic bylaw update speed reduction on Riddell Road between Town Line and County Road 109 Broadway be received, and that traffic bylaw 2005-78 Schedule H be amended to reflect the rate of speed on Riddell Road, County Road 109 between Town Line and County Road 109, and that traffic bylaw 2005-78 Schedule N community safety zones be amended to include Riddell Road, County Road 109 between Town Line and County Road 109. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor McIntosh and Councillor Stevens, all in favor? And that is carried unanimously. We will move then into 13.3.12, and Councillor Andrews, I'll turn to you.
I appreciate it very much, Your Worship, and I know that typically any committee meeting minutes or task force minutes are, not to say rubber stamped, but I know that we all have lots of information to review. This one here is very important to share and extract in this consent. And I want to take the time to thank the Deputy Clerk for providing assistance on this as she brought it forward and worked with Finance on this. One of the work plans, one of the work plan items in the Affordable Housing Task Force was in fact to consider a community information open house. And in fact, our task force has been working diligently to organize this, and in fact it has been scheduled for Wednesday, June the 18th between 7 and 9 p.m. I'll explain a little bit more in announcements. But part of this is to hold an open house. We do require some funding. The funding, as was in fact approved, at least in discussion in our task force meeting this past week, was to ask council to approve an expenditure not exceeding, and I stress not exceeding, $3,000 for the purpose of hosting an open house to be absorbed within the overall operating budget. I will stress that I figure that we will not even come close to spending that amount, but in the case that had been recommended through our new communications department process, with the idea of potentially utilizing either graphic designers, which will not be required for some of the collateral that will be used. This, in fact, was kind of brought back into the task force's wheelhouse, as I could say. So this will be primarily to have specific poster boards of the 4 initiatives that have come up through the dialogue within the task force. These are very unique ideas that have come about through a lot of discussion, a lot of research. More to come, of course, with recommendations that will be coming a part of this outcome. But we want to have the general public and those that are tied into what is defined as interest in affordable housing. And again, we have one of our developers here. This is a pressure point in our community, is defining what is deemed to be affordable. And we're looking forward to getting somewhat of that input and feedback from our communities. So we will have staff as part of this event. We also will, in fact, have members of our task force that will be presenting their 4 initiatives. But I am requesting funding to support this community open house from council.
Thank you, Councillor Andrews. Was there any additional questions or comments? No, looks good. So the recommendation is that council endorse the following resolutions regarding item 6.1 community open house. The council approve an expenditure not exceeding $3,000 for the purpose of hosting a community open house to be absorbed within the overall operating budget. And I believe I have to do item 9 as well, and that Thursday, June 26th Affordable Housing Task Force be cancelled. Can I have a mover and a seconder to receive those? Councillor Andrews and Deputy Mayor, all in favor? And that is carried. We are now at the notices of motion prior to meeting portion of the meeting. And with that, I will turn the chair over to the Deputy Mayor.
Very good. Thank you, Your Worship. At this time, item 14.1 is a notice of motion prior to meeting. And Mayor Post, I will turn this over to you to describe your motion, please.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. The purpose of this motion is to ask the province to rescind the strong mayor powers in its entirety. I will read through the motion and get feedback from council. I hope to have this passed along and to encourage other municipalities to endorse the motion and support the motion at their councils as well. Whereas the province of Ontario initially introduced strong mayor powers in 2022 with the stated intent of expediting housing development across municipalities, and whereas the province of Ontario arbitrarily expanded the strong mayor powers legislation to include an additional 170 municipalities in April 2025, I'm going to correct that, it's 169. Whereas municipalities across Ontario have demonstrated a commitment to addressing the housing crisis through local planning approvals and community-led solutions, and whereas strong mayor powers fundamentally alter local democratic governance by concentrating decision-making authority in a single individual, thereby weakening the role of elected councils and disrupting the principles of collaboration and shared leadership. And whereas these powers can create uncertainty within municipal organizations, impact staff morale, and risk eroding the trust that underpins effective municipal governance, and whereas there are currently no provincial checks and balances or independent oversight mechanisms in place to ensure strong mayor powers are being used appropriately and as intended, and the legislation itself has been described by some as open to interpretation, creating a fundamental flaw in the responsible application of these potentially dangerous powers. And whereas the primary barriers to the housing construction are not rooted in municipal decision-making processes, but in a broader market conditions, infrastructure constraints, and the lack of effective provincial and federal policy supports to stimulate affordable and attainable housing development. Therefore, it be resolved that the Council of the Town of Orangeville formally requests the Province of Ontario to rescind the strong mayor powers legislation in its entirety, and that should the legislation not be repealed, that the province immediately remove the Town of Orangeville from the list of municipalities designated under the strong mayor powers framework, and that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to all Ontario municipalities, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, the Honourable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, the Honourable Rob Flack, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, the Honourable Sylvia Jones, MPP for Dufferin-Caledon, Deputy Premier and Minister of Health, and the Right Honourable Mark Carney, Prime Minister of Canada, for their information, support, and consideration. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. We have a motion on the floor. Is there a seconder for this motion? Councillor McIntosh, thank you. Any comments or questions at this time for the Mayor? Councillor Sherwood.
Yes, through you, Deputy Mayor. I just wanted to kind of piggyback on your comments earlier, and I just wanted to congratulate Mayor Post for putting forward such a motion, and thank you for respecting the democratic process, and you have the utmost respect for us as councillors and staff, and I want to say that I have the utmost respect for you as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor
very
Sherwood.
much, Councillor Sherwood. Councillor Andrews, you can't let, really? Okay, so we have a seconder. All in favor of this? That's passed unanimously, and I'll turn the chair back over to Mayor Post.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. We do have notice of motion at meeting from Councillor Prendergast regarding responsible growth and opposition to elements of Bill 5. We did receive it before the meeting, so with council's okay, we can move forward with it today. Is everybody okay with that? Seeing nods across the room, perfect. Councillor Prendergast, I will turn it to you to discuss your motion.
Thank you, Mayor Post, through you. I am bringing this motion forward today. Well, I fully support the urgent need to build more housing and strengthen our local economy. Progress should not come at the expense of environmental responsibility or thoughtful, locally informed decision-making. Bill 5 proposes sweeping changes that deserve our close attention. It would give the province authority to create special economic zones that bypass local planning rules, site plan control, and public consultation. It also dismantles the Endangered Species Act, replacing it with a framework that shifts key decision-making from scientists to cabinet, undermining protections for at-risk species and their habitats by weakening both standards and timelines. Well, the motion does not oppose growth. It supports responsible growth, growth that preserves our natural environment and affirms the essential role that municipalities play in shaping sustainable, livable communities. And I would like to read my motion now. Once I scroll down, sorry. Okay. Whereas the Government of Ontario has introduced Bill 5, Protecting Ontario by Unleashing Our Economy Act 2025, which proposes substantial changes to environmental planning legislation, including the repeal of the Endangered Species Act and the creation of special economic zones that may override local planning authority. Whereas the town of Orangeville supports increasing housing supply and economic growth, but believes this must be achieved without undermining environmental protections or compromising the integrity of municipal planning processes. And whereas Bill 5, as proposed, risks weakening safeguards for Ontario's natural heritage and reducing the role of municipalities in managing growth in a responsible and locally informed manner. Sorry. So much. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Council for the Town of Orangeville opposes the provisions in Bill 5 that would reduce environmental protections or override municipal planning authority, urges the Province of Ontario to advance housing and infrastructure growth through policies that respect sound environmental planning principles and uphold the planning tools available to local governments, and that we direct that this resolution be forwarded to the Honourable Doug Ford, the Honourable Rob Flack, the Honourable Todd McCarthy, the Honourable Sylvia Jones, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, and all Ontario municipalities for their awareness and consideration. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Prendergast. Well written and well said. Can I have a seconder for the motion, please? Councillor Andrews, was there any additional questions? Councillor Andrews?
I don't have any questions, Your Worship. I do have a comment. I want to thank Councillor Prendergast for this. And as the Vice Chair of the Affordable Housing Task Force, I know that housing is certainly on the minds of many people in our, and not only in our community but in Ontario. But this also balances development, and I think it really is extremely well written, and really is an impactful motion. So thank you for doing so.
Thank you, Councillor Andrews. Any other questions or comments? I will call the vote then. All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. We'll move into announcements. Did anyone have any announcements tonight? Councillor Sherwood, then Councillor Stevens.
Yes, Your Worship. Thank you. I just wanted to bring to you the attention the wrap up of this theater season, and we are ending it with a comedy by Norm Foster called I'm in Love with Your Sister, and it runs until May 18th. So I would strongly recommend you get out and enjoy this charming bit of humorous show.
I saw it on Saturday. It's excellent. I would recommend everybody get their tickets as well. Councillor Stevens.
Thank you. Chair of the Access Orangeville, we're accepting nominations for the 2025 Accessibility Champion Award. Nominations will remain open until May 30th at 4:30 p.m. So please nominate if you feel someone's gone up and above for accessibility. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stevens. Councillor Prendergast.
Thank you, Mayor Post. I have 3 quick announcements. Sustainable Orangeville is still ongoing with our tree sapling giveaway. These are free trees. We still have about 50 left, and you can find that on the orangeville.ca website. The Rain Barrel program is offered again this year, and you can also find out about that online, where there's a subsidy for rain barrels. And finally, I would like to congratulate Sustainable Orangeville member Josh Pickering for running a very successful first downtown birding event. There were approximately 20 residents who found out about it from the newspaper and various sources, social media, and they saw a lot of birds, even a bald eagle. So look forward to news about that in the future.
Thank you, Councillor Prendergast. Any additional items of announcements? No, we will move into bylaws then. The recommendation is that all bylaws for the current council meeting listed under item 17 bylaws be read 3 times and finally passed. That's 17.1 through 17.9. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Deputy Mayor and Councillor Andrews, all in favor? That is carried unanimously. And now I'm just looking for a motion to adjourn. Councillor McIntosh, seconded by Deputy Mayor. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you for joining us this evening.